Today's topic is Malcolm X, the movie from 1992. Now, that movie was just OMG great. By the end of the movie, I was like, Denzel looks just like Malcolm X. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Because they did, first off, Spike Lee is a genius. No shock for real, but is a genius. Even in terms of just the basic cinematography, they did a great job splicing actual footage into the movie and then making footage from the movie look older. So it felt like everything that was in it felt like it fit exactly the way it was going to go. Also, great job with the timelines in the movie. Because it starts off with him talking about him being younger, then it goes back even further, and then you're in the present day, and then you have the progressions, but you have flashbacks here and there. They did an excellent job with the splicing of when to have a flashback and how important they were, and then the symmetry between events that were happening in the past, events that happened in the present, being present in the movie. And so overall, it was an amazing movie with so many amazing Black actresses and actors that I forgot were in the movie. I think I'm not that old. I'd like to point that out. This movie came out when I was like 4. So I did not see, I don't remember watching it in its entirety before, but I can say it's an excellent movie. Now, spoilers for those who haven't seen Malcolm X and or don't know about Malcolm X. Let's talk about the content. Now, they did an excellent job with the casting again, because Angela Bassett as the wife, fabulous. So, the casting of Angela Bassett was pure genius as the wife. Anyway, there were so many great actors and actresses I just didn't even know were in the movie that were just phenomenal. Now, spoilers. For the actual content of Malcolm X is who he was and who he was in the movie. I like the way Spike Lee does portray him, because while the idea that we're raised and educated to believe is that Malcolm was pro-violence and Martin wasn't, that's not true. It's kind of the same sort of ideology or demonization that we place on the Black Panther Party, where because they were for self-defense, they were pro-violence, and that does not make sense. And something that Malcolm says, or in the movie and in real life, that is extremely important is he says, if people stop giving us the reason to need to defend ourselves, and we don't need to defend ourselves. And that is basic logic. It's really, I love the way they portrayed him, because they did a great job showing that he was always human and his goal was never to promote violence. It was just to say, hey, people do have the right to defend themselves. Now, I also liked the fallout between him and the Elijah Muhammad, because obviously Malcolm X was a Muslim, and the growth of him as a human being, from being a con artist and being a drug dealer and a drug addict, or not addict, but someone who did drugs, and being in prison, and how joining the Nation of Islam helped improve his life. It really did build his character and make him better. It did make him a bit not at all liking white people, which is a bit much for me, but I liked the progression of the story, the way they told it, and the way he eventually came around to not demonizing all white people, because I do feel that in this world that we live in, it doesn't benefit any of us to have one group labeled as a devil and one group as an angel. That doesn't help, because we're all people. Some of us are devils, some of us are angels. Has nothing to do with our skin color. It's just all about character. I liked that them showing his growth that way, and then his willingness to work with other groups. But my favorite part, and I know this is going to be like, that's your favorite, but for real, it's my favorite part. My favorite part was when, I guess it was either the CIA or the FBI, based off of what we know, I'm going to say it's probably the CIA, but the CIA or FBI, whoever was recording them, I like when he said, when there was a takeaway towards the end of the movie where the CIA officers are like, this guy makes Martin look like a monk. And I liked that line, because I am not for taking a dump on Martin, because Martin Luther King did amazing things for me and my family. Realistically, I love Martin. And for just like Black people at large, Martin Luther King, extremely important, not trying to tear him down. I also feel that part of what's wrong with American culture is that we have to deify people as opposed to letting people be people. I think that we'd have a lot less animosity towards the founding fathers' missteps if we didn't make them into demigods. Martin was a human being, and I liked that line because it showed that him and Coretta either had talks that were a bit colorful, or maybe since we now know that he was cheating, that could have been those. But I liked that it showed that nobody is perfect and that this concept of it just isn't real. I also love how we know that Malcolm X was shot repeatedly. That's not like we can't, that's a historical fact. I do like that in the movie they had him smiling after he was shot. He got shot and he smiled at his attackers. There was no violence, there was no fighting. It was just an acceptance of what was happening. And I know that seems like a real small detail, but I thought it was something that stuck with me after I watched it. It was just like, ooh, wow, why would you smile? And you think about it, well, if you fight, then you go out known as something, and that reflects on Nation of Islam, it reflects on you, it reflects on, and that's what you're remembered for. And so he's not remembered for that. He was remembered for other things, but not for that. I did like that. Now, some things I did not care for, not with the movie, because the movie was extremely well made, but in terms of Malcolm X's story, I did think that the comments about JFK were a bit extra. That was just not necessary. He was pretty well loved, even though realistically, from a policy standpoint, a lot of the things that JFK pushed for weren't because he was really into the love of Black people, but it was just politically prudent. But he still did a lot of stuff that we got to give him credit for. I just felt that was just kind of harsh at the assassination of a leader to be, he deserved it. That's just not, he didn't say that. He said that when the chickens come home to roost, but still, that line to me was a bit much. And I did think that a lot of Malcolm's ideology, when it came specifically towards race relations, was just a lot. Like, it wasn't that I'm all for building up my community and making sure my community is better and growing it and being able to improve my community. But I believe that the best way to improve our communities is through making sure that everybody understands who we are, where we are, and where we're trying to go. And that starts with also understanding where we've been and accepting that, not just us accepting it, but being able to tell other people and them accept it, because we all bear the cross in that way. I'm not going to say it's any one person's responsibility to fix it, but it's got to be fixed, and we can't fix something until we acknowledge it's broken. I do want to say that I liked the movie. I like Malcolm X in terms of his desire to constantly fight for our freedom. And I like that when he realized that Elijah Muhammad wasn't the man he thought he was, that he distanced himself. And then doing so, he allowed his world to be opened. I do think that that's what zealotry looks like, is when you get so intense and so fixated on something that you don't allow your mind to be open to things. Because a lot of what he preached for is really no different than what the Klan wants. Not in terms of supremacy, but in terms of division. We need our own things. We can't have it here and that. And I will say, this is an aside, as a me aside, I say continuously that because my people built America, I'm not leaving it. It's my, well, I've left it, but because my people built America, it's my country. I am an American. And the ideology that says we are African first, or that we need to create a place there, doesn't make sense to me, because it erases 400 years of working on the country. That doesn't make sense. I believe that I should respect the part of me that existed prior, but my history starts in America, and my mom's and my dad's and my grandma, my great-grandma, I can trace mine back several generations, and it's been in the States the whole time. And so it's hard to say that the best way for Americans to succeed is to shake off America and leave, or to shake off America and just be our own thing, because we built it. We built it, therefore we are entitled to it. And it just needs to treat us a little bit better. A lot bit better. It needs to treat us a lot bit better. But overall, Malcolm X is an amazing movie. I absolutely loved it, and I do 100% recommend that everybody watch it if they have a chance. It is available on Amazon Prime. You can rent it or you can buy it. One more thing that's a bit of a takeaway in relation to the splicing of the footage from the movie. The Rodney King bit at the beginning I thought was really intense and impactful, because obviously Rodney King happened years after Malcolm X died, because Malcolm X died in 1960 something, 1965, I think so. The Rodney King thing happened in the 80s. And then we have George Floyd, which happened a couple of years ago. It's showing that even now we're still facing the problems that Malcolm was fighting against. We're still having issues with police brutality. We're still, the problem still persists. I liked that being the intro, where it's like, we're talking about a story of someone who lived, who's been dead for a long time. Not a long time, but he's been dead since the 60s. And yet we can point to things happening in the 80s. We've got video footage of things happening now. We can name names of individuals who have died at the hands of police officers still. And mind you, Malcolm was pre-Black Panthers. So you had Malcolm fighting for our right to protect ourselves. Again, that was not his only platform belief. Then you have the Panther Party still arguing for our right to protect ourselves. And here we are now, still having the same issues with police brutality. I believe that watching that movie is helpful for everybody. One, because it's a great movie, but two, it also points to the degree to which we really do need to talk about police reform. Just generally, we need to talk about police reform and what policing should look like how it needs to evolve. I'm not for putting people out of jobs, but I am for finding ways to improve our system so that it does not end in the deaths of so many innocent people who are unarmed, and addressing biases that are uncovering our implicit biases and finding ways to create structures that address them so that less people die. And I don't know, we just have a better world from that. But anyway, Malcolm X, great movie. Everyone should watch it. Enjoying the content? Well, I hope so. Download your own calendar at the link below.